Uh, let's just start off with like the most basic drift, right? That you'll see on like tons of maps, especially in Tame 2. It's just this, right? So you're going to start drifting somewhere around here. Or like anywhere in this area. Then you're going to hit the apex. So you always want to be as close as possible to the apex. Some turns might have multiple, but generally there's usually like one. And then you keep as much speed going into the exit. So we just grab some speed here. You just kind of drive like that, right? Something like that. Now, when you're building a drift, what you usually want to do is, in order to make it work, is make sure that the player, with whatever the fastest part from the previous part, is going to be able to hit the apex without releasing and go as close to the exit as they can without needing to exit way out here before going to the next part. Sometimes you can do that, but it's usually not exactly what you want to be doing. Just like for making the most basic drift possible, right? Because let's say you do something like this and then another turn right away. This is how you start to get really awkward turns. Because they're too close together. There's just no room to go between one to the next. You need to like release a bunch. So that's like the most common mistake that new people mapping tech will make. So instead of that, you might want to do something like this, and then I don't know, whatever else you're gonna do. I don't know if it's actually gonna work. This might be too far away, but we'll see. Yeah, that's maybe a bit too far. So maybe you want to do like one of these. And then you can do something afterwards like this. But most of it is just going to be chaining entries, apexes, and exits. But you can see now this works well. The turns kind of connect and flow together. Maybe they're not perfect, but it does work. A lot better than the previous version, at least. And then you can just kind of keep going like that. With exits, you can do a few different things. You can do what I did here, where you just kind of keep going in the direction after getting as close as possible to the outside. There's other things you can do, like a zigzag of some kind, where as soon as you exit the turn, you'll be turning to the opposite side. It's also pretty common. And then often you'll go into another drift afterwards. It's not terribly well calculated here, but you get the idea. Don't drift directly into off-road in the same direction. Yeah, you usually do not want to do something like this. It's not that uncommon, but usually don't want to do like drift and then continue the turn into off-road. It's really hard to calculate and make it flow well. Sometimes you can make going in the opposite direction work. It's a lot easier when you're going on off-road. But yeah, you don't really want to have one continuous turn like that and start going in a big spiral. On a similar note, having a drift and then another drift in the same direction without any inputs to the other side in between is usually going to be kind of shit. Surprisingly, I don't think I've ever seen it work that well, but yeah, it's usually almost always something you don't want to do. Often you can end up with the skid marks at the end of the drift, and then you have to like either do a neo or cancel your slide. Usually doesn't flow that well, or is really hard to calculate. So yeah. Another thing is you don't want the entry to your drift to be too straight, because then you end up playing this weird game of lining up on the side of the road as you line up to it before just like instantly starting your slide, which is really, really awkward. Because you do have to be starting your turning for a moment before you start drifting, so this would end up being a neo as well. That's why you kind of have to be coming from like somewhere off over this way for this turn to work. Okay, hopefully that's helpful.